Are you running your business, or is your business running you? Today we are diving into the incredible journey of an Amazon seller who turned the tide of his business. Meet Ben, a seller who scaled his business to 7 figures in revenue within 2 years. But instead of feeling on top of the world, he found himself buried under the workload. He did it all alone, from creating new products and managing his shipments to handling customer service. The joy of running his business was gone as he got consumed by the daily grind and endless battles with Amazon. Ben faced a tough choice: sell the business to get out or find a new way forward. He chose to transform his approach and his business. Ben not only streamlined his operations, but he also learned to hire, delegate, and trust in the abilities of his team. This allowed him to step back from the day-to-day operations and focus on strategy and growth. And the result? His revenue nearly doubled as he finally had the capacity to launch new products and expand to Europe. If you are caught in the weeds and feel like there is no way out, Ben's story offers powerful insights into the benefits of systemizing, hiring, delegating, and focusing on the parts of your business you actually enjoy. Let's find out how he did that. Hi, Ben, and welcome. I'm happy we finally got a chance to do this. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Just here in Thailand, so yeah, enjoying the nice weather. Yeah, so
Oh yeah, so you're still in Thailand. Actually, here in Prague, it's super cold, so I would actually trade.
yeah. It's definitely come out. It's good this time of year. Yeah. Oh, not Chiang Mai, but yeah, everywhere else is pretty good.
Nice. Okay, so I think we can dive right in. So my first question is if you could tell us a little about your background as an Amazon seller and the key challenges you
Yeah.
were facing in your business.
Yeah, sure. So I started selling on Amazon towards the end of 2019, just before COVID, which naturally when I launched, COVID just completely transformed my business in a positive way. So it really helped me scale quite quickly. So I think it was around a year and a half after that, kind of 2 years, I got to about 900K in revenue. So yeah, I got to that stage, just come off the back of launching like quite a few successful products towards the end of Christmas. And then I started starting to not really enjoy the business anymore. And I was just like, yeah, is this really for me? Should I be looking at selling? And yeah, just generally wasn't happy with the way things were going. Yeah.
So you were running the business full time just by yourself?
Yeah. So it's just me. So I was just doing everything myself. So in terms of researching the products, product development, I was contacting suppliers, dealing with them, like creating box labels, like PPC, pretty much everything related to the business, from very low value tasks to high value tasks I was doing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And was there something specific you enjoyed about the business at that point, or was it like just completely all over the place and not really liking the business as it was?
Yeah, I'd say in terms of what I enjoyed back then, I did like product development. So I think there's something very rewarding about finding a product that and just seeing it like there, like in front of you, that it's a new design. So I think that was very rewarding. I think also just naturally launching products that make money is also something that like everyone enjoys. So I'd say those two main areas, but there's a lot of stuff I just didn't want to do, just like updating spreadsheets constantly, or creating box labels, or the worst, which is contacting Amazon and just getting a horrible response back, and like, and having to spend like another 10 emails to them to solve like a basic problem. Yeah. So there's a lot of things like that was just going on. And it just, I'd say the biggest thing is just like the time suck of it all, mentally and energy, my energy. So it just meant that I was waking up each day. I knew I had to do my one thing, which was product development, but then I knew there was like all this other stuff I needed to get done as well. And then sometimes all of that other stuff would start to filter over into the morning. So I'll be spending a lot of time doing stuff because it's like creating this huge baggage for me mentally, instead of doing the stuff which is going to be more important, actually help grow the business. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds like a story similar to a lot of sellers that they start a business to have freedom, but then eventually they are being owned by their business. So they cannot really enjoy the freedom, even though they may be making good money. But I know you did not sell the business. You now still run the business. You built a great team. So you were facing a decision whether to sell the business or an alternative to go a different way because you knew that you don't want to keep doing what you were doing, which was running the business solo.
Yeah, exactly. So I was faced at crossroads. I did actually look into selling. It wasn't actually the right time, but I was like, okay, if I'm going to actually do this, I want to do it in a different way. And so that's when I started. Yeah, I was having this conversation with like Miles in Colombia, and then he said, "Oh, yeah, reach out to Michael," and then that's when we started having calls, and I came to your program, and then that's when like started building our processes and sort of hiring a team and doing things a different way to what I was doing before.
And what was your main concern before taking the leap and actually start bringing people on board? Because I know that for a lot of people, this is a big challenge, right? To hand over their baby, their business to someone else and have the trust that they won't mess it up.
Yeah. What's the biggest challenge associated with that?
Mm-hmm.
I would say, I'd say you don't really know until you've done it, right? So I think that there's a lot of fears that people have, or a lot of different things but when you actually go through that thing and you live through those fears, you come out of the other end, and you're like, oh, that wasn't actually that bad. Like, just like more recently, just like losing money on like launches. It's always been this like thing of losing money and how bad it's going to be. But it's in terms of like when you actually go through it, in terms of like, yeah, you feel the pain, it's horrible. As long as it's not like all your money. But in terms of like, if it's a bit of money, then it's okay, I survived that, or I got through it, right? And I think in terms of with a team, when you hand over stuff to people and they not only do it, but they do it better than how you could do it, then it gives you this strength in terms of like, okay, well, why wasn't I doing this before? And you restructure that belief based on new evidence, right? So I'd say it's just literally when you go through it and you learn that people can do things better than you can, it changes that belief completely. Yeah.
Nice. And can you describe the process from making this decision to bring people on board to actually having someone fully accountable for some of these processes in your business?
Yeah. So the process from the full process from A to B, would be identifying where my time's going first and foremost. So looking at Toggle, seeing where my time's going there, and then okay, like for example, I was spending a large amount of time on supply. And then from there, it would be writing down all the things that I'd be doing in supply. And then it would be looking at that, mapping it out on Asana, or like using a process maps. You've done a lot of this within your business for supply specifically. So I don't think that's really necessary. It's just more plug and play for that sort of thing. But then like mapping it out so you have an idea as to the whole flow of that, and then testing it and testing that yourself to make sure it's the best way of doing things. And then once you've done that and you've got a good understanding of, okay, this is the best way of doing things, it's starting the process of identifying the talent to come in and take over that. And yeah, the steps for that are kind of like creating a filter, so you can identify the right person to come in. And then once you've potentially identified them, giving trial tasks for that, interviews. And then one thing which I've done, which I think is a quite big thing as well, is giving them, taking them on temporarily and giving paid tasks. I think that's a massive thing because a lot of people will come out and say, yeah, I'm brilliant, I can do all of this, and give you really good, like sophisticated answers to questions, which are written by ChatGPT, especially now. And then when it actually comes to it, they just don't deliver, or you start to notice things. This is the big thing. It's just like noticing things that they are doing well or badly. Yeah. So That's the
So
full
the
scope
first
of it.
person you brought on board was a supply manager.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
where did you find them? Because a lot of people also say that, hey, you mentioned you identified the talent. And of course, as you said, there are thousands and thousands of people you could potentially hire. So how did you knew that this person is a good fit for that particular role of a supply manager?
Yeah. So I would say for supply, the one thing I was mainly looking for was attention to detail. So the whole thing with supply is not complicated. It's just you need to be organized, and you need to make sure you're not getting anything wrong massively. So in terms of having a filter question in there, which helps identify um, whether they have paid attention to the rest of the applicant, was important as well. But also in terms of initially, you helped me out with this. It was giving a task to them, but also making a slight mistake on the task, or giving them something where they have to look at that and identify that, okay, well, that's wrong. I'm going to have to fix that. Yeah. So they're going to have to think for themselves a little bit. So yeah, just in terms of filtering the right candidate, it's literally just coming down to testing them and then paying attention. I would say, yeah.
Nice. And how long did the process take from posting the job ad to having someone running your supply?
Supply was really quick. So I'm actually onto my second supply manager. The first one didn't work out in terms of he ended up starting making a few mistakes and then ended up leaving. But in terms of the whole process was actually pretty quick, which was, I think, around 2 months. In terms of building out the processes and then doing it, I probably could have done it quicker. But supply was quite easy because there's a lot of candidates I came across. But then it took even less time. So this is the thing with initially, it's going to take more time with a lot of this stuff, I think, because if you're not building out processes and you're not mapping out with a view how to scale this from the very beginning, you're going to have to knock it over and rebuild it, right? So that took more time initially, especially with supply, in terms of, even though it's just copying and pasting what you did, pretty much, it's still making sure that it fits in well with the business and okay, do we need all of this? And okay, how can we simplify this? And just making sure it's right for my business. So that initially took the time, but the second time around, the second supply manager, it was 2 weeks, I think, in terms of identifying and hiring her, and pretty much being pretty much 90% of the way there in terms of onboarding.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what do you think was the difference between these two candidates, that one is working out really well while the other one was a failure?
So the second one, she's absolutely paranoid about going out of stock. So I'd say, we had a call once, and she's like, "Yeah, but I'm just so scared of going out of stock." And I was like, "Good. That's good. What you need to be like." Yeah, yeah. So I'd say, in terms of, she's just constantly wanting to make sure, she really knows what good looks like. I think that's one of the big things I made a mistake around the first time around. I probably didn't communicate what really good looks like. And showing clearly, okay, this is what you need to be doing. This is what I need. And I think with her, I've communicated. I think you say this so many times through the course. I think Layla Hormozi drills this point in a lot as well, which is you have to repeat something 10 times before anyone listens. So it's constantly repeating we cannot go out of stock. We can't go out of stock. It's the worst thing. We can't go out of stock, and just drilling that into her. I'd say also from the very beginning, drilling into her that we need to, probably not the right I should use, but in terms of from the very beginning, making sure that using Asana correctly and using checklists correctly, I'd say, for this position, and making sure nothing goes out there, and just being very on top of that if they're not doing it. And so they really understand the importance of doing that. Yeah.
Nice. And do you think, have you made any mistakes you think others should avoid in this whole process of finding someone, bringing them on board? Was that something that you would do differently now?
I think bringing people on board I think I would go a lot slower than what I did for certain positions. I think what I mean by that is it's very exciting when you come across someone you think's really good, and then it might jump into being like, okay, like come on board and like training them and working with them. But I think I've done this with a recent candidate. I've been giving them loads more like paid tasks in terms of like really taking things a lot more slowly. I think with Chingli as well, in terms of my supply manager, what worked well for her is that I made the role temporary in the beginning as well. So it was a temporary position for 3 months. And that's the way I sold it to her and described it to her. And then she could make the transition then to full-time. And then in terms of, I think that having those stepping stones and going slowly and giving a lot more paid tasks, so you can really notice what they're doing well and what they're not good at, and seeing how that plugs into the rest of the team, so you can work to the strengths of that person and bring out the best at other people as well, is important. Also, I just say volume is a big thing in terms of in all areas of business, but especially with constantly filling the funnel with good candidates and always being like an eye out. It's something I'm doing. I'm not even looking for anyone right now, but I'm still got everything, all the job posts open. I'm still looking for good candidates. I'm still interviewing, because I think it just, when someone really good comes along, you do notice them, I think, and you just want to snap them up straight away.
Yeah. Because I feel the same. The biggest mistake I've made is that I was waiting till the last minute to hire someone, and then I didn't have time to go slow. I was like, okay, let me just choose the best candidate out of these 20, 30 candidates we got.
Yeah.
But maybe even the best candidate is not enough, right? I think that's an important point to do. You have to set the bar first, and then if none of the candidates will pass, just repeat the whole process rather than hiring someone who's just not up for the task.
Yeah.
And what changes have you noticed in your business operations overall and your results after you put the team in place?
Yeah. So the changes I've made is that I'm a lot more removed from the boring stuff. So I'm not updating spreadsheets. I'm not creating box labels. I haven't done that for over a year and a bit now. So I'm not doing any of that. I'm not communicating with suppliers, or I'm just directly working with each member of the team in each core area to help get the best out of them. And then when I am working in the business, it's with the intention to build the process and make it better. So, for example, this year I've been working with your strategy of working in sprints. So identifying, doing an opportunity analysis and looking at the biggest opportunities, ways of growth, and then working out a sprint plan to do that. And then working in sprints. So the first part of the year, I was looking at a lot more products, looking at the product development process so we can improve that, because that's been a huge bottleneck, just getting products through quickly enough. And then I was working on the optimization side of things, and looking at the more efficient way to optimize our current listings. And now I'm back on product development again. But the view is always with the lens to improve the process and do something that's scalable. I'd say that's the biggest difference, because before I had the lens of, oh, this is what I have to do. I have to do X, Y, and Z, and I have to do all these different things. But now I'm always thinking of a solution, which is, okay, how can I do this? Build a process around it that is scalable, and then get the team to take over from this. So it's with a much more of a scalable lens. And it's completely changed the way I see business too, because I look at everything now and I'm like, I can achieve so much more and I can do so many different things long term. That's the thing. It's still a process, right? In terms of if someone comes on and they join your program and they do everything you say, there's still going to be mistakes, and maybe they're still going to have challenges, but it's just the challenges are going to be way more fun because you know that when you go into this problem that and trying to work out the best way to solve it, you're not going to have to do that for like the next 20 years or something. You're going to have to do that until you can then delegate it. So you're working with the lens to build a process and then delegate it rather than the lens to just do that thing for the rest of your life or until you sell. Yeah.
So this sounds like it's more enjoyable for you rather than what was before, right? Since you are not involved in the daily operations too much.
Yeah, I'd say 100%. I would say overall business in the last year, a bit since I started like building a team, I do, even though working with a team has its challenges, when things go wrong, but like in terms of it's still more enjoyable to do that than it is to create like box levels, right? So it's like it's better to have like high level problems than it is to have lower level problems for sure. So
and from my perspective, I always think about the expertise you are developing, right? It's better to be an expert at, let's say, creating processes, as you said, and hiring and leading a team rather than being an expert at supply chains, right? That there is simply more potential, even from a different perspective. Maybe you'll start another business in the future and you will be able to leverage everything you've learned here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the skills that you've taught me and you teach inside the program in terms of really changed the view I see all future opportunities and businesses. Because before I always had it like with one lens, but now it's just like I can see so many different ways of achieving it. I was like, okay, I can see how they are doing that, or that business has built a process, a really sophisticated process around doing that, and doing that really well. And it, I think, creates this extra moat around your business as well, because if you have like a really good team, in terms of that can produce results and are really going after it and constantly improving, and all the processes around that. If one of them leaves, you can just do the same thing and hire someone else and then plug and play. It's not completely dependent on you. If you decide to step out the business for a month, it's not going to crumble. You're still going to launch products. You're still going to the business should still grow theoretically. So it's like it gives this extra layer of protection that if you only ever just are relying on yourself and your own capacity, you're always going to be your own bottleneck. And that, as most sellers get caught in that, I think, in the beginning stages, because they are always their own bottleneck. Because the seller will always be the bottleneck in the business. Like largely, it always go back to the seller being the bottleneck. But in terms of if you can work out the way to remove yourself as the bottleneck, then it should only be a temporary problem rather than grinding you to a complete halt. Yeah.
Nice. So also you mentioned that before, when you were running the business solo, you were approaching 7 figures in revenue. So what does it look like now in terms of results and sales?
Yeah. So in terms of end of last year, we did just shy of 2 million, so 1.9 million. We have got our European VAT numbers now, so we're rolling out to Europe. So nice. We're doing that. So the supply chain can now hold that as well. So my supply chain, and she's got a good year of experience, like working with the process, so we can support that. So the expansion of our existing products. So in terms of on the product development front, it's taken a lot longer than I expected, like getting someone to train them and find products. But we are launching products without me being heavily involved in everything. It's more of me coaching on the product development front, more than it was me doing everything myself. So the business, I'd say, has a lot more solid foundations now, and we're still growing. It's still a lot of mistakes that I'm making, and a lot of things I want to improve. Absolutely. I want to grow quicker, like I think most businesses do. But in terms of, it's in a much better position now, with the foundations in place to sustain future growth than it was when we first started speaking. Yeah, for sure.
Nice. So do you still plan to sell the business, or you want to keep it running and growing as long as you can?
Yeah. So right now, I'm trying to grow the business. There is a plan to sell within the next 2 to 3 years. It's hard to say.
Hmm.
Selling an Amazon business right now isn't exactly easy,
Yeah.
from what I hear. So, um, in terms of there's still potential left in European markets and like creating a more efficient process around product development that so we can get products to quick market quicker. But it's yeah, it's something I will do eventually. I think um, it makes the most sense, but not right now. Not right now. It's something that
Hmm.
another
Perfect.
day.
A lot of sellers mention that their fear of hiring is that the people will leave. How do you incentivize your team for them to stay on board with you, as you said, maybe for the next 2, 3, or 4 years?
Yeah. So in terms of creating an incentive, I think Richard Branson has a quote which is train people well enough so they can leave, but treat them well enough so they don't. I
Nice.
think that is an important thing to remember. Is that I generally don't think anyone in the team would leave. I mean, people have quit, absolutely. Like two people have quit, so they probably just didn't enjoy working with me. But like, if they do quit, then you have the processes and you have the systems where you can hire someone else, and it just makes you better at that. So there is that. Also, in terms of keeping people and incentivizing people long term, I've been quite open with the team that I'm looking to sell the business
Hmm.
eventually, and they will all get a part of that. So on sale. So in terms of that is the massive carrot, and I've handed out like bonuses towards the end of the year as well. So yeah, and also in terms of the working conditions, um, I'm very kind with the way I let people work. In terms of I give them time off if they need it.
Hmm.
In terms of I'm more than happy to like give them paid time off if they need that. In terms of what choosing their hours as well, with Toggle, everyone uses Toggle tracking their time, so they can work when's best for them. So like supply manager, she likes working on a Sunday because she doesn't have to work as much during the week, so she can look after her kids. And there's things like that, just
Hmm.
creating conditions so that they are they think, why would I leave, right? Why would I want to leave? And that's what I tried to do in terms of the one-to-ones. Like if there's anything troubling them or getting in their way, or they're having any sort of personal issues, or that I can try and help them out there. And just I generally just don't want anyone in the business to be miserable or unhappy, and try and
Hmm.
create an environment where they can achieve their goals and they wouldn't want to quit because they're not going to get anything better elsewhere. And
Hmm.
so that's what I
Hmm.
just try and do. Yeah, just lock into their intrinsic motivations and just create an incentive for them to stay like that way. Yeah.
Perfect. And have you met any of them in person, or is everything remotely?
Yeah. So I've met one of my team. He lives in Thailand as well. Um, and in terms of the other two, no, I haven't met them yet. I have planned to at some point, but
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah.
Okay. We briefly touched this, but I think it's important to really dig into this a bit deeper. How do you now feel about running the business, right? Because
Yeah.
we talked about how the freedom is important, and we often trade the freedom for the money, for the revenue, and then you realize that you are not really getting there. So do you see your role in the business being more and more detached from the business as you hire more people, so you actually can achieve the freedom without necessarily selling the business?
I think this idea about having freedom in a business is a bit of a fallacy, in a sense of like, I think being an entrepreneur or running a business is a 24/7 job, and not in the necessary sense that like in the day-to-day grinding like away
Yeah.
like point of view, but in the sense that mentally you're always going to have to be switched on. So anyone who ever talks about passive income and like completely freeing themselves and from their business, all I look at that is that like their business is on the way out. Their business is dying. So
Yep.
you're either growing, you're dying. So I think about that aspect of it. But I think there is things you can do like with a business where you can make it more enjoyable, right? So if you're building a team and you're working with people and you want to do that and you want to work with people, it will definitely make the whole process more enjoyable and exciting. You learn more skills, it'll result in more scalability. And then if you want to take like a month out, right, or 2 months out, you can get away with that, or a week out. Absolutely, you can get away with that, rather than everything depending on you and you always being the bottleneck for very basic things such as shipping labels, or looking at something regarding a launch, or getting something completed for a launch, or product development is a common one as well. Like in terms of you want to try and remove yourself as the bottleneck and just always be on the strategy and as the coach in the business. And I think that's the best position and most people can get into. I'm not 100% there yet. I'm still having to definitely jump in and do some certain things and like coach, but like in terms of it's definitely better than it was when we first started chatting.
And what advice would you give to someone who wants to make this transition, right? Looking back when you were starting, they want to get into similar position as you are right now, from being a solo entrepreneur. If you could summarize it in like three to 5 steps for them.
Yeah. In terms of what advice would I give them now? I would say the first step I would take is just make the decision to hire someone who has done that before. Like it might not necessarily be yourself, or it could be anyone. It could just be reading books, but make some sort of decision. Because I've seen sellers do this where they wouldn't make a decision on doing this, and it goes like a year and a half, 2 years down the line, and they're still in the same position. So I'd say make some sort of decision to pay for some sort of course or read some books and to start doing something. And then like once you've made that decision, like just literally go into that thing and just absorb everything you can, and just take all the lessons you can and just implement them as quickly as possible. Because I've done this mistake myself where I would go into a course or go into a program and only take snippets, or take like parts of advice, like some of your advice I didn't listen to, or and then like I get like 6 months and I was like, yeah, Michael was right about that. In terms of, so I would say that's the most important thing, because once you've gone into that program and you've taken action on be the best possible student you can absolutely be, and implemented everything you possibly can from that program, then you can go to that extreme, and then you can come back, right? Like you don't have to like go into your program and have every single spreadsheet that you used, or be as organized as you and Mars were, because no one's ever going to get to that level. It's like the highest possible level there is. Like no Amazon seller is ever going to be that organized, right? So it's an impossible benchmark. But going to that extreme and going into a program and then like taking that, and then you can come back and get to a happy medium where you are, your business is growing and it's succeeding. So I'd say it's not really a 5-step strategy. It's just literally just identify something that's going to fix that bottleneck and then just do it, and just don't half-ass it. Just do it well. Like just go in full in, and then you can always drag back if you don't like the systems. Like I'm not going to sit there and spend hours and hours and hours designing process maps as well as you ever will, but like taking out the core lessons and having a go at this sort of thing has definitely taught me what is valuable and what is absolutely essential in what you're teaching and what isn't.
Thank you, Ben, for sharing your story and for coming here and for taking the time to talk about this in detail. This has been super valuable. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Michael.
Okay. Thanks. Ben's story is a powerful reminder that with the right team and systems in place, we can transform our business into a machine. It is about the importance of building a business that can run without us. But of course, his transformation did more than just free up his time. It set his business on a path of steady growth, and more importantly, it made it ready for future exit. If you want to see exactly, step by step, how Ben systemized his business and built a team, I recorded a free walkthrough where I explained the whole process in detail. You will find the link in the description. Thank you for joining me today. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more content on scaling your Amazon business.